Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. Yup. We love you, Misty. We love you, Misty. We love you, Misty.
My favorite memory of Miss Daberkow was when we were at Teachers Conference. Oh gosh, I don't even know how many years ago it's been. And we were all waiting in line to go have our communion. And right in front of me, Miss D goes up to take communion from Pastor Kellogg, and she thought he was holding it and he thought she had it, and the whole communion cup just fell on the ground, and water splashed up like an ocean wave over the top of her under the first pew of everybody behind us, and it got that whole front row wet. She was covered in red wine from her tip of her head to the toes, and it was just dripping off of her glasses.
There was a moment there, and many of us saw it, when the cup was not held in either hand. And Pastor Kellogg's white gown was red, and Miss D had wine all over her, but it wasn't as red as her face was. And we laughed about it and everything. And from that day on, because she knows I know the story, whenever she comes to the Lord's Supper, there's always a little wink and a little caution there.
My favorite memory of Misty is when I first got here 4 years ago. She was my mentor teacher, and she helped me through different times, and like during when I had to do like my first conferences and everything with the parents, she gave me coffee and just helped me through it. She always felt bad if she missed any details, and she just was a big support to me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you, Misty.
Okay, my favorite memory about Miss D, well, one of my first memories, because last year when I taught, I wasn't always around, but one day I was around for lunch, and all of a sudden you see all these 5th graders coming out of nowhere. And Randy says, "Oh, Miss D must have lost her keys again." So then the kids come up and they say, "Have you seen her keys? Have you seen her keys?" So everyone's searching for her keys, and the teachers start looking for her keys. And I walk up to her and I see something shiny right here, and I grab it and I go, "Oh, are these your keys?" She goes, "Don't tell anyone." And I don't know, it was just a pretty funny story, because she had all these people looking for her keys and they were around her neck the whole time.
One of my favorite memories of Miss D is this year actually. I went to grab this packet of baby wipes, and I accidentally grabbed a pack of Clorox wipes so my kids could wipe their faces before class pictures. And they were saying, "Ow, it burns," and I realized my mistake. And then the next day, Miss D said, I had some phone calls from upset parents about their kids' faces being really red and hurting. And she totally kept a straight face, and I was terrified and upset, and then she's like, "Just kidding," and she got me good. And one of the other memories I have of her is in the office for devotions before school, Mr. D would tease her and she'd always say, "Shut up, Randy." The same exact tone every time. I will miss that every morning.
In the morning during devotions, Misty came in and she asked me to refill her ink cartridge for her printer. Very, very busy day, chaos in the office, so I told her I'd get to it when I could. So I just ignored it. All of a sudden she came in and she said, "If you can't fill my cartridge, can you give me the stuff to do it with?" I said, "Okay, but you may not want to do that." I warned her. And so she got the stuff and she went in her room and she started to fill it up, and I didn't know she was doing it. Well, she came back into the office and she had ink literally all over her face, all over her hair, all over her new outfit, and she just threw her hands up in the air and she said, "Look what happened." And I knew what she had done, but I couldn't respond the way I really wanted to. So I said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I just kind of grimaced, and she marched off into her room. Well, I found out later that she had filled the very large syringe with ink completely, put it into the cartridge, and forced the ink into the cartridge. And as she was forcing it, the pressure was building and building and building until all of a sudden it literally exploded up into her face and all over her desk and all over the floor and all over the papers and everything else. And her class was there watching, and her brother, Mr. D, was across the hall, and he saw it all happen, and he couldn't handle it, so he walked into his office, and he just stood there and kind of tried to be quiet, and she marched in and said, "Randy!" And he just looked at her, and then she went into her classroom again, and he and I couldn't handle it. We both broke out laughing so loud, that she could hear us laughing from the office in her classroom, and she yelled back at us during the school year, "I hear you!" And that made us laugh even louder. And later we allowed her to go home and change. And after that, she promised she would never, ever, ever fill an ink cartridge again. She would always buy them. And yeah, it's been the topic of conversation many, many years. At Fun Olympics that year, I had to apologize to her for laughing at her for trying to fill an ink cartridge. That's my memory of Miss D.
Hi, Miss D. It's been an honor working alongside you, even though at times it's been the blind leading the blind. I thank you for looking past your reservations on hiring me. It's been a blast. May God bless your path of retirement. You'll be truly missed.
One of my favorite memories of Miss D is when I was here on a Saturday cleaning all alone. She comes in rushing because she had to use the restroom because she had been at PCC all day for her class. And poor thing locked her keys in her car. We were there for hours trying to get those keys out of the car until finally, probably after about 2 or 3 hours of trying, we decided it was time to call the locksmith. And honestly, it cracks me up because she just came in for 5 minutes just to use the restroom, and that is honestly one of my favorite memories of Miss D.
So my best memory of working for Miss D this year is the fact that she loves kids, and she often says, I never had my own kids, but I have many, and it shows over and over again in her actions. And she gave me a job, and I really appreciate the family that she brought me into. So thanks, Miss D.
I have a memory of Miss D when I was working here part-time, and she was in her classroom reading the paper over a candle. And the paper she was reading caught fire. She ran out in the hallway, stomped it out, and Carrie came walking through. She looked down, this big black piece of wood was all over the floor, and Carrie says, "Debbie's gonna kill you." So I heard all this commotion happening, and I came walking over and saw all this. But that's a good memory I have of Misty, and just her smile, and just her great way with kids. And I love it when she's praying at the end of lunch, and she says, "Please join me in prayer in your hearts." I just think that's so special. So, love you, Evelyn. Have a great, great retirement.
So, I've known Miss D for a really long time, and we go to church together, and I've worked with her, and she is like the sister that I never had. So all of her stories are safe with me. But I do want to say that as a co-worker and fellow colleague, that one of the things I really admire the most about Misty is that the way she touches kids' lives, and not just for that year that they're in her classroom, but they come back and visit her. They are keep in contact with her and invite her to their major life milestones and events that happen long after they were in 5th grade, and she very much touches their lives beyond the classroom.
Hello, Evelyn. I haven't been here that long, but I want to thank you for inviting me to be your team teacher in 5th grade as you became our interim principal. It's been a great year. I've enjoyed it, and I'm extremely grateful for having had this opportunity. It's truly been an honor, a privilege, but most of all a blessing to have the opportunity to work with you and to teach with you. I've especially enjoyed the nursing home ministry. It's been very rewarding, and to see the lights in the eyes of those residents is a joy beyond words. It touches my heart with every visit that we had, and I'll miss you when we do those. May God bless you as you begin a new chapter in your life. You're loved and you will be missed. Thank you, Evelyn. You will always have a very special place in my heart.
Another one is when you would kind of take quality time when your kids went to science, I believe, and you would kind of just strategically take your chair and you would turn it around from the door, and you would just kind of catch 20 winks. And we decided one day when you were doing that it was time to have a fire drill, and you weren't very happy about that. That was pretty good too, but that's 2. Next one, you did this in Hayward, California. You had a boy that was so afraid of you and took you so literally, you sent him to the office and you told him he couldn't leave. His name was Hank, and he was wearing cowboy boots, and no one ever came to confront him. But when he finally got back to your room, when he came back in your room, one of his boots was squishing, and it turned out, and it was leaking because you told him he couldn't leave the office. Well, he had to go to the bathroom. He did not leave the office, did he? He obeyed what you said. So he took off his boot and used the boot as a urinal. So that's another claim to fame for you, and I'm sure you've got some others. But there's one thing I want to say that very seriously that a lot of people do not recognize or know is between your 8 years of going to school at Lutheran schools and your experiences, you have spent 50 years in Lutheran education as a student and as a teacher. And I remember when you first came here that we were not involved in a league, and we were going every place to play basketball, volleyball, or anything we could get together. And you were the one who took the initiative. You went to the AD meetings. You maybe weren't even supported by a lot of the parents. And I remember the first team we ever did that did anything in league was you taking 6 girls to volleyball matches in your Toyota Tercel. And that started things for all of the things you know, everybody knows that we have. You look at the banners in the gym, you look at all the trophies in that trophy case. Those are there in large part because of you, because you didn't take no for an answer, and you were the one who was responsible for getting Trinity into that league, of which we have had years and years of success. I just want to tell you thank you for that. And I think that's just important. And something too, as a coach at the same time, I don't think anybody has ever won a tournament, first place, and gotten Christian sportsmanship. at the same time. So that's not only telling what level of work you did with the kids that they could win, but to get sportsmanship too was how other people saw them as well. Every program has a big time start, so I think everybody, when you go through by that trophy case in the hallways, thank Miss D.